Pregunta Ulises Barrera, what do you recommend me to increase my English? You have to remember that English is a skill, and any skill is learnable. And the way you learn a skill is through practice and repetition. It's all it takes. If you think about it, that's the only thing that children do from 0 to 5 years. They just practice and repeat. If you want to develop your fluency, you need to push yourself to environments that will make you use the language. You have to. The only way to improve a skill is doing more of that skill itself. Okay? And English is the same thing. If you want to improve your speaking, you have to speak more. If you want to improve your writing, you have to write more. If you want to improve your listening, you have to listen to more things, audiobooks, podcasts. That's what you need to do. So, if you want to improve your English, it really depends in what aspect, because as you know, when you learn a language, you learn it in 4 different dimensions. You have speaking, writing, reading, and listening. So, you have to grade yourself from 1 to 10. You have to assign this score from 1 to 10 for each of these quadrants, and based on that, you work on those quadrants. Aprovecho antes de que sigamos hablando de lo que tenemos que hablar. Aprovecho para recordarles que tenemos matrículas abiertas en fiveringsacademy.com. Como ustedes sabrán, nosotros somos una academia de inglés online para Latinoamérica. Y nuestra misión es ayudar a Latinoamérica con la mejor de nuestras capacidades con el aprendizaje del idioma. Entendemos que la educación es un pilar importantísimo y que el idioma es un punto de inflexión en el crecimiento profesional de las personas. Tomamos el aprendizaje del inglés muy en serio y contamos con una metodología que ayuda a simplificar cualquier dinámica o cualquier aspecto del idioma para que sea fácil para el estudiante absorber esto y que a la hora de la práctica y la repetición esto sea más cómodo, ¿sí? Estamos en la misión de ayudar también a todas estas personas que ya se encuentran en un país como Estados Unidos, Canadá, Reino Unido, Irlanda, Jamaica, Australia, Nueva Zelanda, cualquier país de habla inglesa. Hay personas que ya llegaron a ese punto, ya están en ese lugar, entienden que el país ofrece muchas oportunidades siempre y cuando el idioma se aprenda y por lo consiguiente es, si se ponen a pensar, urgente aprender el idioma. Entonces, Five Rings Academy es una academia que está en esa misión de ayudar a esas personas que necesitan el idioma para un mejor ingreso, para una promoción, un crecimiento profesional, ¿sí? Y con el aprendizaje del idioma o llevando el inglés al siguiente idioma, al siguiente paso, estas realidades son posibles, ¿no? Estos objetivos son posibles. Contamos con una modalidad híbrida que consiste en combinar clases online con clases en vivo vía Zoom. ¿Qué quiere decir? Que tú tienes acceso a una plataforma 24 horas al día, 7 días a la semana, y esta plataforma cuenta con lecciones, videos, ejercicios, eh, quizzes, y paralelo a eso, paralelo a ese estudio, ustedes toman clases en vivo vía Zoom 3 veces por semana. Esas clases pueden tomarse de lunes a sábado. Hay diferentes horarios, ¿sí? Tiene un costo de $69.99 al mes. Es una mensualidad sin contrato, sin cargo de inscripción y sin cargo de cancelación. Tú vas mes a mes. De la misma forma que tú pagas un Spotify o de la misma forma que tú pagas un Netflix que decides cuánto tiempo tenerlo, de esa misma forma lo hacemos. No intentamos, por así decirlo, atar al estudiante con compromiso financiero. Yo creo que el compromiso lo tiene que hacer el estudiante. El estudiante debe tener las cosas claras y la disciplina correcta Entonces es una modalidad que te permite ir mes a mes. No hay contrato, no hay cargo de cancelación, no hay cargo de inscripción. La academia o la metodología de la academia cuenta con 3 niveles: básico, intermedio y avanzado. Cada nivel tiene una duración de 4 meses, lo que implica que al término de un año, ustedes terminan su curso sin ningún problema, ¿sí? El curso es 65% speaking. Si bien es cierto, no es un curso de speaking, porque no lo es, sí es un 65% de speaking. Y la razón por la que es un 65% speaking es porque, si se ponen a pensar, es de las 4 cosas, de las 4 dimensiones de un idioma: hablar, escuchar, leer y escribir. Hablar es lo que más hacemos en el día a día, ¿sí? Al final interactuamos con seres humanos eh, en el transcurso del día, y esta parte del idioma es la que más se necesita, por así decirlo, tener bien desarrollada. Es la más importante y es la que toma más tiempo, ¿sí? Entonces, debido a eso, el 65% del curso eh, es speaking, ¿sí? Entonces, es un espacio muy seguro para el estudiante. Ustedes, si entran a la academia, se dan cuenta, o si hablan con los estudiantes, se dan cuenta de que se sienten muy cómodos. Es un ambiente seguro y tiene este ambiente conversacional, fraterno, no tan académico. Y la razón por la cual nuestra metodología no es tan académica es porque la vida en sí no tiene un enfoque académico. La vida es estar en un trabajo, interactuar con personas, dar feedback, recibir feedback, escribir correo, entrevistas de trabajo, ir al supermercado, ir al aeropuerto, al hotel, ir a un banco, negociar con alguien en un banco, ponerse a hablar de dinero. Eso es la vida, ¿sí? La vida no es prepararse para un examen, la vida es eso, ¿sí? Y debido a esto, la metodología de Five Rings Academy lo entiende, y por ende tiene una metodología con ese enfoque, ¿sí? Eh, Modalidad híbrida, 69.99, ¿sí? Mensual. Combina clases online con clases en vivo vía Zoom. Pregunta a alguien acá en el chat: ¿hay nivelación? Hay un examen de ubicación. Si tú tienes conocimientos previos del idioma, tú puedes perfectamente hacer un examen de ubicación eh, para nosotros determinar en qué nivel estás. ¿Serías un básico, un intermedio sólido o un avanzado? ¿Sí? Se hace un examen de ubicación una vez inscrito sin ningún problema. ¿Ok? Modalidad híbrida, 69.99. So let's go ahead and have this session. I want to take this opportunity. I want to take this live session to actually talk to you about the projects and goals that you have for the year that is about to start. As you know, we are in the last month of the year, December. Today is December the 7th. We only have 24 days left for this year. User is asking how long it takes. How long does it take? Okay, each level takes 4 months. Okay, basic, intermediate, and advanced. Each level takes 4 months. The idea is that at the end of the year, you will be able to finish the course. Okay, so 4 meses cada nivel. I would like to have this conversation about your goals and the projects that you're seriously thinking about starting in this year that is about to start. Okay, so we are going to have that conversation, and I am going to invite people from the audience so we can have this exercise. Okay, so let me do that right now. Let's bring Mario to the conversation. Mario, can you hear me?
Hello, yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. How you doing? How is your Saturday going?
Well, it's doing well, but actually I'm up to sleep. Here it's 11:45 p.m.
Oh,
in
wow.
Ecuador. I'm from Ecuador.
Okay. That's great. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, my name is Maralejandro. I'm 35 years old. I'm from Ecuador. I'm English. I'm sorry. I'm international business management engineer, and as I work as assistant in a company who sell through TikTok lives. And well, I used to be an English teacher when I was younger,
Okay.
younger, let's say. I'm 35 years old, and it's when I started attending English classes at university.
Okay.
But nowadays, I work as let's say seller through TikTok with my company, and that's it.
It's good. Okay. You're
And by the
35.
way, it's an honor to talk to you because actually I was working in an English environment few months ago, and I started watching your videos on TikTok, and I loved all of them.
I appreciate that. The pleasure is all mine. And thank you, by the way. You could be doing so many things right now, and you decided to be here with us. So you're 35. I wanted to ask you. I'm 37. So we kind of have the
Uh-huh.
same age. I would
Yes.
like to ask you, do you find substantial differences between the person? This fly is really, really a big mess. Do you find substantial difference between you in your 20s
Yeah,
and
of
you in your
course.
30s?
Yeah, by far. Because actually, to be honest, nowadays I have the. Let me think about it. How to say this? Nowadays, I have the power, or I empower myself somehow,
Hmm.
and I have the tools that I did not have in the past. For example, when I have to face something, let's say any fear, and when I was younger, I didn't know how to act, or
Mm,
even if I have to react or something, it's completely different. Even if I want to buy something, I mean, I have the economy, let's say, to buy something that I couldn't do in the past. Now I have
right.
the power. Now I
Mm,
have the chance to do it. And of course, but let's get real. I wanted to be in my early 20s again. Because nowadays I'm closer to the 40s. And but to be honest, I feel that I have a big glow up nowadays.
mm.
Now, and of course, it's as you mentioned before, it's substantial by far. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
like the only thing I miss from my 20s is my capacity to have dinner very late and being okay with that. Like if I do that
Yeah,
right now,
absolutely.
my
Yeah,
stomach is going to
absolutely.
suffer serious consequences. I can't do that. I wish those days, I remember those days. 21 years old, 20 years old. You could literally have dinner at 11 p.m., go to bed at 11:15, and nothing would
Mhm.
happen. Nothing would happen. That's honestly the only thing that I miss from my 20s. I really like how mature I am and the perspective I have about life. It's a beautiful thing what you get in your
Yeah,
30s. I think in your 20s is a
absolutely.
lot of exploration and
Uh
trying to
huh.
find yourself. And you're still looking for a certain social validation. You're pursuing, I want to say, superficial things for a lack of a better term. You're looking for this professional growth, make a lot of money, traveling, looking for a
Hmm.
relationship, clothes, looking good. And I think when you reach your 30s, it's really more about finding more meaning in your everyday life. And also, something very important happened in your 30s. I think you begin to interact more with death because you
Hmm.
begin to lose certain people that you love and appreciate, perhaps a grandfather or grandmother. In my case, like I lost my father 2 years ago. So you begin to experience more about death, and you get to understand, you get this, this reflecting time, and you're like, wait a second, like life is not about making money, eating, and pleasure and pleasure. It's about spending time with your loved ones, doing what you love, and trying to leave a legacy and helping others. And that's what I like about the 30s. You know, you get that understanding, which is so different from whatever you were thinking when you were in your 20s. Did you had some of it? Did you have some of that in your 30s?
Yeah, well, actually, to sum up what you just said, it's just what happened to me because when I was 21, I was diagnosed with cancer. I have leukemia.
Hmm.
I had leukemia 2010 until 2014, and in 2018, I have leukemia again,
Wow.
and it was good, and I was diagnosed with diabetes and skin cancer last year again.
Wow.
And of course, I how can I say this? I mean, I learned how to live. Let's say. I mean, I understood, and then nowadays I understand that I'm a human being, and it's okay
Right.
to be worried about bills, about payments, about electricity, and well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and government and so on. But it's all I do understand that I have to worry about those things, but nowadays I do care about myself, about my heart, about my health, about all the things that maybe when I was younger I couldn't do because I was worried about my health. Even just superficial, as you mentioned
Yes.
before, superficially saying, I mean, I was worried about, let's say, now. I was all the time worried about not to eat meat because
Hmm.
no, it's because it was very dangerous to my health. And nowadays, I
Right.
don't care if I eat an ice cream. I don't care if I eat a candy or something because I was so sick. I was so fed up about thinking that if I have
Hmm.
to stop drinking,
Yeah.
thinking I have to stop because I have to care about my health. But nowadays, this is the how I understood how to care about myself, to take care of me, and of course that, and yeah, as you mentioned before, the idea of reflection about the
Yeah.
stuff that I couldn't handle in the past, and now what I can handle nowadays.
Yeah.
It's yeah, of course,
You're
because
such a
the
warrior,
pro- yeah,
Mario.
yeah,
You
thank
are
you.
a warrior and a survivor. You have a lot
Yeah,
of
my I
inner strength and inner courage. I want to tell you that.
no, thank you. And yeah, nowadays, and now at the moment, I see my life different. Maybe I'm worried if I'm gonna die tomorrow or not. It's a option. It's a possibility. Yes, but I try to enjoy all I have nowadays. Yeah, and because it's not like in the past that I used to save money and sleep properly and etc. Now I do the same, but I'm trying to enjoy. I mean, of course, it's okay to save money because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. But if I had the chance to buy an ice cream between paying, no, I don't know, to think about my diabetes, I do prefer to eat my ice cream, instead of thinking another situations, another scenarios.
Right. Yeah. Health. I'm so happy that you're touching bases on health because I personally believe is our most important possession. And we take it so granted. Most of the time, we take it for granted. I like this phrase that says, "Health is that invisible crown that you have that only the sick person is able to see." It's what it is. And I
Mhm.
also love what you said about, yes, all these things, having to pay your bills and whatever is going on in the world is definitely something serious, but it shouldn't be the most important thing on your life. Like you should
Mhm.
focus on living here and now and taking advantage of the day that you were given. Because the fact that God decided to give you another day is such a blessing, so rewarding, and we have to keep that into perspective. I think one of the biggest mistakes we do today is to be always thinking in terms of productivity and profit making. Like if the meaning of life is making money or being productive, like I have friends that they say things like, oh, like I don't spend time in social media because that's time that I'm wasting. And I mean, like, what do you mean time you're wasting? Yeah, because I could be doing something more productive, like, but having
Mhm.
fun is also an important thing.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
I understand that if you spend 3 4 hours in social media, then you have a problem, but you also need that portion of entertainment and relaxation in your day. It's not this black and white approach. Everything in balance is always good.
And
So
sometimes people pretend to be someone they are not, saying and
agree.
even underestimated social media, underestimated our funny moments
Yeah.
in any single aspect or areas here on. And I do always hear about people. No, I'm working. I don't pretend to be the
Yeah.
best human being or a good son or a good worker. I mean, I'm just Mario Alejandro here and wherever I am.
Yeah.
But I cancer teach me. No, it's teaching me again, and now I mean at the moment is teaching me because I mean I've been facing and handling
Right.
with the situation for the last 14 years. But what I can say is the lesson that I received from this is like, well, I'm living and I don't know what will happen tomorrow. Maybe I'll probably
Hmm.
die. Of course, I was 21, and of course, I have my drama moments because, as I told you before, I did not have the chance and the tools and the opportunity to process or handle in that moment that situation. Now, what and in the past 2 years, when doctor told me that I have skin cancer, I feel again like I was 21 because I was very
Of course.
scared. I
Yeah.
was I know God, I'm gonna die. Why? Of course, I have that moment, but I mean, I have those trouble times. Let's say 1 or 2 days, but in day number three, I felt better. I felt more comfortable with the situation. I'm here 20. Sorry, I'm here 14 years later, and I'm here 2 years later when doctor told me that I have cancer again. But
Wow.
I'm struggling. We're struggling every day. I don't pretend to be religious here, and I respect people what they believe, what they think about the life and
Hmm.
God and so on. But I'm here anyway. Anyhow, I'm
Right.
somehow.
Yeah. It's so beautiful what you just said about um your perspective about cancer. I'm remembering as we're talking, this speech, I don't know if you have had the opportunity to watch it, is one of the best speeches from Steve Jobs. He was actually talking to Stanford graduates. And he said, because, like he went through cancer as well. He
Uh huh.
said, and I watched that when I was 21 years old and I was not able to understand. I was so immature, but now I get it. He said, knowing that you're going to die is perhaps the best incentive for you to make you prioritize the things that really matter.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, and that's so deep
Yeah.
because it's so true.
It's because we people we have to understand what what you can prioritize or what your priorities are maybe are not the same that I have. And
Right.
not because I'm terrible or that person is terrible. Just because we have many different needs and your needs are not mine and vice
Right.
versa. But what we have to understand as human people is that we have to be tolerant with the others.
Yes. Yes. And it makes you question, so many things at a psychological, philosophical, and spiritual level. I think you get to this practical conclusion that as long as you use life to live, love, learn, and serve, no matter what, religious or philosophical perspective you have, if you do just those four things, learn, love, serve, um, you, you're going to have a wonderful life, you know, a wonderful life. Like imagine doing what you love, imagine taking some time to love the people, that you really care about, following your passion, serving people, helping people with your passions and your talents. That's a wonderful life, right? It's definitely a wonderful life. I want to thank you, Mario. I would love to have more conversations with you. You're definitely a very interesting guy. And what I loved about our conversation was the fact that you understand cancer, you know what is really filtering things
Yeah,
that really matters. Like sometimes we create and of course I don't want to minimize people with depression and anxiety, but sometimes we experience anxiety and depression for the wrong reasons, for things that are fixable or things that are not worthy of worrying. So I think when you are in a situation like yours, you're crystal clear about the things we should prioritize, and it was
yeah,
so
but
great to hear you
mhm.
expanding on that.
Yeah, but don't get me wrong, because of course I am anxious. I have anxiety. I have depression, because I'm human being, of course.
Of
By the
course.
way,
Yeah.
but we are. I'm struggling. People are struggling with them different aspects of their lives, and I've been thinking in the last year, being I don't want to call me mature, because I'm not. But what I would like to say is like I learned how to act,
Mm.
how to react, how to talk to people. Of course, it's important to understand what is your situation, or what your situation is. Sorry, what your situation is, and of course to try to control from the beginning is kind of complicated, but no longer after. I completely sure you are going to conquer the way, or conquer the situation. Of course, it's not that easy. It's very difficult, but at
It's
the
easier
end,
said than done. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, of course. And as I just mentioned, it's important to understand the situation. It's
Yeah.
important to to conquer your ideas, and don't pretend to control emotions, let's say, or feelings from the beginning, because it's very hard, it's very difficult. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to jail. If you want to break hearts, no, 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 break heart, no. If you want to do all the stuff that you want to do to make you feel better, go ahead, go ahead. But at the end, you will understand the reason why.
Yeah.
There is It's very
Yeah.
difficult to finally understand that. Of course, it's very difficult. Many tears to finally understand.
Yeah.
Many tears, of course, especially in my case. But it's part of the process.
It is part of the process. And I think people tend to avoid doing that because usually we typically tend to confuse being weak with being vulnerable. And there are two different things. I think weakness, like being a weak person, has to do with you not having character. And being vulnerable is recognizing, that you're not this almighty person, superhero, very strong person.
Mhm.
You're a human being experiencing and going through different hard situations and adversities, like there's nothing wrong with experiencing any type of vulnerability, but people tend to confuse that with weakness. Like if you recognize your vulnerability, your vulnerable side as a human being, they tend to believe that people will say, "Oh, you're weak. You're not as strong." And people tend to avoid, having that conversation with themselves. Yeah. I want to thank you, Mario, for being here. Very insightful, very deep conversation, existential. I loved it. Very philosophical as well.
Recuerda suscribirte a nuestro canal y activar las notificaciones para estar al tanto de todo nuestro contenido. De igual forma, recuerda dejar en los comentarios cualquier tema o aspecto del idioma inglés que te gustaría que abordáramos en nuestros siguientes videos.